You feel this nervousness on the phone there?
Sir, I've been trying to make an urgent phone call up there.
Well, I don't think it's something I want to do on an overseas phone.
You gotta make some phone calls. Hang up the phone. Prank caller. Prank caller.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again to Packernet After Dark. This is the call-in show of the Packernet Podcast Network. If you'd like to call in, if you'd like to participate in the show, please feel free to do so. The phone number here is 608-501-0718. New callers go directly to the front of the line. We do have a new caller, believe it or not. At least I think so. Sometimes it's just a number that is new. But that's fine. So let's go ahead and do that. Let me get this set up. New caller, what's going on?
Hey, Ryan. Long-time listener, first-time caller.
All
I
right.
don't really have a name for radio picked out, so I guess you or the AI get to go ahead and assign me one.
Perfect.
So, been listening for a long time, probably since around when you did that episode bagging on Colin Kaepernick with the 49ers. So the reason I wanted to call today was...
It's funny how I'm still identified with that episode. That was a memorable one, I guess you could say.
The episode from this morning, September 25th, you were talking about Quay Walker being really bad. Now, I'm not defending Quay, and I'm not saying PFS is wrong. What I'm wondering about is later on in the episode, Quay's stats don't actually sound that bad. He gave up one reception on 2 targets. He allowed fewer completions than expected. How does his grade get so terrible when it doesn't sound like he was hurting the defense that much? But in contrast, McDuffie sounded like he had a much worse day defending against the pass. But his grade wasn't nearly as bad. Anyways, love an answer on that. Thanks for all you do. Oh, and if you're still doing AI portraits of dollars, I'd like to suggest the following keywords for mine. Handsome, bodybuilder, jacked, muscular, Adonis-like. Anyways, have a good one. Thanks for all you do again. Bye.
You want to hear something crazy? It's exactly what I tell it I look like, so I already got the picture. It's a very good question. I do want to go back through because I don't exactly remember what was said about Quay. Let me go to defense here. Let's go to the Green Bay Packers. Just as a reminder. So, let's see. Tackles, Quay was number 1. Not that that means a ton, but he was number 1 with 23. He was second in stops. Oh, I'm sorry. That's the wrong guy. He is tied for second in stops with Keyshawn Nixon. He had 8, which is a lot. Hustle stops, he had 2, which is tied for second. What else we got here? Quay did get credited with a half a sack. As far as, let's just do pressure rate because he's not doing it as much. He was a little lower. He was the lowest of the guys that actually had a number, 0.8%. What else is interesting here? Passer rating. Quay was 102.8. It ranked 5th, but that's still fairly high. And plus, there's guys in here that should not be. Like Kenny had a rating, so, take it with a grain of salt. What else we got here? Pass rush, sack percentage. Sure, why not? Quay, 3.8%. That put him 3rd. We already did pressure rate. Let's go to nearest defender. If we look at his coverage, we already did passer rating. Catch rate over expected, he was... he's right at 0. You know what? I'm kind of messing this up. This is for the season, but let's just go through it anyways. Because I was like, I don't remember him being at 0. He's exactly at 0. My answer is going to be the same either way. I just wanted to look at it. Coverage EPA right now, he is the worst on the team at plus 5.5. I don't know what else we got here. Whatever. Here's the bottom line, though. I'm glad you brought it up because it isn't. There's 2 different ways to address this. Number 1 is, as I've said before, each one of these kind of answers a slightly different question. The grades are a specific thing. Each individual stat is a specific thing. For example, catch rate over expected is a very specific thing that it's answering, but it's not necessarily everything that would go into a PFF grade. Now, if you said his coverage grade compared to catch rate over expected, it should be, you would think, a little closer, but still they're not exactly the same thing. The only other thing that I would say, and again, this is maybe not massively helpful, but it is the answer, it's kind of my new mantra, which is I'm going to give you all the data that I can find, and I want you to kind of come to your own conclusions. So when I say PFF says he's terrible, and I say he's terrible, and you know, maybe that's unfair of me because I haven't really watched Quay. I'm kind of just taking PFF's word for it, and that's not the full story. I think it's good of you to acknowledge, you know, this says this, but this says this, so I'm going to withhold judgment or whatever the case may be. And for others, it may be, I like PFF, and I like the fact that they grade film as opposed to stats. Other people think PFF's full of crap, so they go with the more advanced stats. Or they just think it's all stupid. They don't listen to those episodes, and they kind of judge for themselves. Either way, again, all I'm trying to do is provide as much information as I can. I give my personal opinion on where things are at, and then just leave the rest up to you. So, I mean, the differences come down to, as I said, they're kind of answering different questions. Also, you know, when you have two different entities, it's entirely possible the NFL is looking at it and just disagreeing with PFF on certain things. So there's going to be some level of that. I mean, even just the stats, which should be automatic, very different. Very different. The number of pressures, the number of the pressure rates, all that. It's insanely different, which again kind of goes into, actually it's not again, I think it's for tomorrow's podcast. I'm not going to delve into the whole thing, but one of the things I talked about on the podcast is how, you know, with PFF and any other grading thing, and this actually, interestingly enough, comes down to statistics as well. Some of it is a bit subjective, which it shouldn't be for stats. It's one of the benefits of stats, but unfortunately some of them are still subjective. For example, what is a pressure? There's a whole bunch of gray area. You know, what if it's after 3 seconds? And if you do draw a line based on time, where do you draw that line? It may be different for each one. And again, what exactly is a pressure? If the quarterback bails, but maybe he didn't even see the pressure, he just assumed something was there. Did he cause that pressure? Do you still put it because he was close by when he took off? It's all this weird stuff. So anyways, listen to tomorrow's podcast. Do me that favor, because I delve a lot into just sort of the complications of all of this. Stats as well as grades, as well as watching film and everything, and the fact that everything's kind of gray. I do think, again, over 3 games, we're talking, 150-ish snaps, maybe more for guys that are starting every snap. If the stats or PFF kind of put you in a category that is not good, especially like a really, really bad one, I probably tend to believe that they're not that wrong. They're going to get some stuff wrong. And it's not even necessarily wrong because some of it's subjective. A big one that, you know, has been popping up a lot is the Rashawn Gary thing and whether Lane Johnson actually gave up a sack. And it is subjective. And there's disagreement, even among Packer fans. They're upset with me because they're like, no, I agree with their assessment that it should not have been a sack. And that's fine. But anyways, that's all kind of baked into this, that every single thing, it's not just PFF. Yes, you have to take PFF with a grain of salt, but all the stats too, right? You can go to SIS, PFF, and NFL, and they're all going to have different things like pressure numbers, which you would think are very straightforward. So I don't know, man. It's tough to figure out. But again, I'm just going to throw as much at you as I can, try to paint some kind of a picture. Hopefully it's clear. If it's not, you're just going to have to make an executive decision how you feel about the player. By the way, I did talk to the robot. We had a little conversation about your name. You are going to be getting a little bit more of a flattering name. It kept adding like these really long names. I don't really want to do that. It, for example, said Buff Kaepernick Critic. We're not going to do that one. Adonis of the Airwaves. Maybe I will do that. I was going to say, I'm just going to cut it down to Adonis. But it just, really, you got to call back, though. So I can see it and be like, next up, we got the Adonis of the Airwaves. That's it. The other one was the Jacked Caller, which is, fair enough. But I think that's it. The Adonis of the Airwaves. Whoa. Man, you better call back with some good stuff. That's all I got to say. Anyways, man, I really appreciate the call. Let's get back to the regulars, huh? Nico, what's going on?
Hey, Ryan, how you doing? This
Great.
is Nico out here driving around this beautiful day here in Southern Idaho. So I've already heard some people online and stuff sort of discrediting the Packers because, our defense is looking good. But, and their thing is like, well, you've played 3 crappy teams. And yeah, we haven't played the Chiefs, the Niners and the Ravens. We played, 3 subpar teams. However, I know it's been a whole year, so I know football fans sometimes forget stuff that happened very soon in the past. Do you remember how it seemed like every week when we would play someone, like let's say we played Danny DeVito, whatever his frickin' stupid Italian name was, for New York. He was crap. Well, we made him look like, Joe Montana resurrected, and we'd play some other team who doesn't have a good running game, and their running back would rush for 150 yards on 15 carries. If you remember, the Joe Barry defense was a defense that really cared about others more than itself. It just allowed everyone else to set records and look really good. So obviously the argument is, well, you can only play who's on your schedule, right? But if we kind of defensively, and I thought even against Philly, obviously we should have won that game. But defensively, since then, yeah, we've beaten some crappy teams, but we've beat them up pretty dang good, so yeah, that's all I got to say about that. Just I can't wait for this weekend. I'm hoping Love plays, home opener. Minnie's looking good. Sam Darnold's humongous forehead has been doing really good.
I didn't even know he had a big
I want them to be pulled back down to reality. The fans, let's face it, the offseason, their fans were depressed. They were already saying, yep, we're the worst team in the North. And now at 3 weeks of, the season, I don't go to a lot of online stuff. I just listen to podcasts and hear people call in. I wonder where. But, and other stuff I listen to, but I don't go to I don't do Twitter. But, I bet you they're getting a little boastful, so that's fine. So yeah, boast a lot. Let's see how it comes next week when you play the Packers. The Packers in the Green Base, So hey, go Pack, go!
Got a guy from Idaho making fun of Wisconsin. That's pretty good though. No, you're right, and it is annoying, and it's hard because I've contributed to that. As far as I don't want to say downplaying, but just keeping in perspective. There are going to be tougher tests, especially for our defense, because, again, they're doing some really, really good things. But there's some things that really make me nervous, and I just don't know. But again, different teams, different game plan. Hafley had to craft a specific plan for these guys that he's not going to be the same for the others, so I shouldn't assume it's going to be the same defense, same plan, everything else. We just got to wait and see. So it is wrong to completely discredit, especially something that's doing a very good job. And that's not just the defense, it's the entire team. They haven't faced, like you said, the Chiefs, Niners, Ravens, whatever, which, by the way, how many of those teams are good? Niners are getting the crap beat out of them. The Ravens got their first win. The Chiefs are winning, but by all metrics, they're just not looking good. So it's early. We don't really know. I'm guessing the Ravens, Chiefs, and Niners are all going to emerge by the end of the season. They're going to be in the playoffs, et cetera, et cetera. But it's just a weird time, and you got to kind of sift through it. But no, I think you're right in the fact that just look at what they're doing compared to what they did. You can say, well, it's a bad team. Okay, so what did we do against bad teams last year? Do you remember playing like Tampa and Carolina? Do you remember that stretch or any part of the first 8 weeks? We've already, I believe, surpassed the amount of total turnovers from what we did last year in 3 weeks' time. So, it's not to say that we know all the information, but also it's not as though we know no information, right? We're seeing what's happening, and there are certain things that you should be proud of. And yeah, just because it can change doesn't mean you can't acknowledge it. Anything can change for anybody. What else were we talking about here? Packers should have won against the Eagles, but acknowledged defensive improvement since then. The whole game was kind of sloppy. It's the one thing that sucks is week one, everybody was kind of bad. And then some guys have started to get better. And when I go back and look at the grades, like Jordan is kind of down. You look among quarterbacks, we got Malik as like a top 5 guy and Jordan's like 14th. It's because of that week one. He didn't look good. A lot of guys didn't look good. So I'm hopeful that he's going to come back and light everything up. But it just kind of, you look at the receivers, how bad they were in that first week, partially because of the slipping or whatever, but the drops. Now they're clutch, man. They're going up and getting everything. So, yeah, I mean, as much as you can say, well, they haven't done anything good teams, it's like, well, they won, and they're getting better, and they're growing, and they're changing, and evolving, and adapting. And look, at the end of the day, it's the Packers. And as much as I can sit here and say, look, the Chiefs and Niners and Ravens, to some degree, look like garbage. But you know what? They're going to the playoffs. We should kind of have that same feeling for the Packers. Especially seeing the Lions not really being able to do much. The Vikings kind of throw a wrench in some plans. But, I mean, this is a very runnable track, if you want to put it that way, in terms of getting to the finish line. I mean, this is not the worst amount of obstacles we've seen. It's certainly not the worst Packers team we've seen. It's one of the better defenses we've seen, at least as far as production goes. So yeah, there's every reason to be excited for the Vikings game. Darnold and apparently his giant forehead. I don't know. I hadn't really thought about it. I never noticed stuff like that. People always point out like, oh, look at his friggin' eyebrows. Like, oh yeah, I guess they're big. I didn't even know the guy had eyebrows until you said something about it. I don't know. I don't notice things. Oh, and then people saying the Packers are worse in the division. I mean, that was, I don't know. I mean, my hands made that sound if you heard that. Just so we're all clear. Yeah, there was certainly some chirping about it. I don't know about the Vikings as much. It's kind of tough to make a case for them. I'm sure some people were talking about the Packers are going to be in the basement or whatever. Who freaking knows? I don't know, especially after the week 1 loss. But things are falling into place. The Vikings kind of are what they always were, maybe even better. But they're the team that they have a high floor, just kind of no matter what. And to assume that they were just going to be 4th in the division maybe was stupid on my part. That is a place that only the Bears or Lions, I think, are allowed to occupy. Bears look like they're going to wear that mantle. But again, as far as a runnable race, I mean, this is a big obstacle. There's no doubt about it. I'm excited tomorrow to dig into it. Not on the podcast. I mean, tomorrow I'm going to look into it and record it for Saturday. But I'm chomping at the bit because I'm seeing a bunch of people post stats and interesting things, and very interested to dig into that. But yeah. Anyways, I guess we'll take a break. We'll try to pick up the pace here a little bit because we got a lot of calls to get through. But we got a lot of Nico coming up. So watch out. We'll take a break. We'll be right back.
Hey, Nico again.
Hey.
So a lot of people are kind of talking about the receivers. I know Wicks hasn't had a good 3 games. Watson did a little yesterday, which was really all he had to do. But I know Musgrave's kind of fallen off. I really think a lot of that's going to get fixed when Love comes back.
Yeah.
I don't think the game plan was to launch the ball downfield.
Exactly.
And to do plays that need a little time to, to develop like a seam route to, Musgrave. He's obviously not a craft kind of guy. He's pretty much like a big receiver.
Yeah.
And in space, yeah, he's dangerous.
And look, I mean, I don't want to just completely excuse it. It's not to say, well, he's. I mean, I'm the one that predicted a big Musgrave breakout, and so far that hasn't happened. But I think it's obvious or clear to see why that might be the case. That isn't to say he's going to do anything spectacular, but I think it's at least excusable up until this point, where when we're trying to become this big downhill running team, which is something else I want to explore. There's some thoughts about the NFL evolving in that direction. We're seeing less passing, less receivers, more running backs as far as value goes. Anyways, we don't need to get into all that, but kind of interesting. But, I mean, you got to also remember Musgrave's role isn't always just to catch the ball. He's kind of a Christian Watson. It's all about stretching the field, and you use that speed to, let's just say they're doing a Tampa 2 or something where you got your 2 safeties and then you got your linebacker that drops. Well, he's got to backpedal pretty quick. If you've got a guy like Musgrave, that guy has to book it straight back, right? The whole point being, with him sprinting backwards, there's a big gap there, right? And I think Watson does that too. It's all about stretching out the field. You stretch to the left, you stretch to the right, you stretch toward the end zone, and we just create this really large box that 11 guys have to defend, which opens up space. So if you've got these quick, twitchy guys, they're going to be able to do it. And then you got a quarterback that can throw into that window, and it becomes sort of indefensible. So I guess I'm preaching patience to some degree. I do hope that it emerges into, like, occasionally they don't do a good enough job covering it and they hit Musgrave down the seam or whatever. And I'm excited about it. I still believe it's coming, but it may take some time. And there is a comfort factor. You know, he's comfortable with Watson. He's comfortable with Dobbs. He's comfortable with Reed. He hasn't done a ton of down the seam to Musgrave. And when he has, it hasn't always been the best results. And, you know, Rodgers isn't the only guy who has to make some executive decisions when it comes to deciding whether or not it's a good idea to throw it down there. Everybody has to take that into account, whether I want to trust that that's going to be the right decision. And, you know, whether he can be the one to get the ball, to actually come down with the ball. And then if he can turn and run without tripping over his feet would also be nice. But again, I'm all in on Musgrave. Kraft has been fantastic. I'm excited about that. But I'm ready to start stretching this field out a little bit and really threatening some defenses. Like you want to try to stop the run. You want to try to condense the field. Yeah, that's going to hurt you.
He showed us last year. So I think once Love gets under center, I think a lot of that will change. And that's no diss on Malik. I just think he had a different, you know, he had different goals, you know. And yeah, they did launch it a little more last week, but I really think that's because obviously Tennessee was going to focus on the run. And so why not open up with a couple bangs, you know, bombs. So
Bang
yeah,
bombs.
I think once Love gets in, some of that will get fixed. I hope Musgrave doesn't disappear. I think Kraft has become what I thought he could be. If Musgrave can just become not the best blocking tight end that's huge and hard to guard down the field, I'll take it, you know, like a Jimmy Graham light, I'll take it. So, hey, go Paco.
I'm with you, and I think I was wrong to set the expectations for Musgrave so high because I think that's just not the way this offense works. I don't know that there's going to be that guy. We've been talking about that forever. Now, maybe we've come to the conclusion, or some people maybe have come to Jaden Reed is that dude, and he may be. But we're not talking about like this elite guy and then a bunch of other guys. It's just a bunch of good contributors that sort of contribute to this offense being what it is, which is this thing that makes it really hard to know where to key in on. There isn't a thing to take away with this offense. Maybe when it was Malik and you assume this guy's not going to throw, they're just going to run, you take the run away. But when it's Jordan Love and, you know, he's pretty solid under pressure, so that's not a thing that we can just throw at him. We've got the deep threat, the speed, the elusiveness. We got anything you want to throw at us, we got a counterpunch. And so it's not a matter of we're going to lean on this elite asset. Like, you know, Musgrave is just this uncoverable beast that's constantly getting the rock. I mean, maybe. But more than likely, it's going to be a situational, play-to-play, down-to-down, game-to-game kind of deal where Musgrave will have a good game, and then he might disappear for 3 weeks. Not necessarily because he sucks, but just because it's a different game plan. And that's where it comes down to Matt LaFleur to continue being the wizard that he is, to know the tools at his disposal, and understand what tools he's going to use in what way to beat the upcoming opponent. I just, you know, doesn't have to be that complicated, or you know, we don't have to build up this idea of what their elite self could be, and then when they don't reach that, we're like, oh, what a bummer. He's freaking lame. That's my fault. I did that.
Hey, this is Washington Metro, a.k.a. Gabe from Austin.
What's up, man?
Just calling in day after the game. Still feeling so good about Malik Willis and having him as backup. And, you know, my original thought, I was listening to some of the previous podcasts, and people were talking about, maybe flipping him and for maybe a higher draft pick than something like 7. That made a lot of sense to me, and it was appealing at first. But I mean, the actual value of having a backup like this, I think, especially on a rookie contract, is worth a lot. Anyway, I just wanted to make sure I mentioned that. And one other thing, I checked out the Locked On Titans podcast just a little bit after the game.
Sure.
And I recommend checking it out because he said some pretty good stuff about the Packers organization. And I just wanted to throw that out there. But hey, thank you for some great podcasts recently, and have a great night. Bye.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate, I mean, I've kind of accepted the fact that I'm the laughing at the enemy guy. I put out I put out all this content trying to make it seem like how smart I am. Like, check out these advanced analytics. Check out my model on betting and look at all this crazy stuff that I do. I'm so freaking smart. And it's just everything I get is when are we getting laughing at the enemy? Like, yeah, that's cool that you think you're smart and all, but when are you going to be like caveman that just plays clips and laughs at people? I'm fine with it. I think that's when I have the most fun too. But no, that's a good call. I should be checking that out a little bit more. Again, we do have laughing at the enemy tomorrow. It's Chicago Bears. I got a bunch of clips, like some Titan stuff, whatever, that are really good. I'm going to try to slip them into the other ones. I don't know if you're referring to necessarily laughing at the enemy stuff or if it's just, like you said, kind words. But anyways, I will be checking out some more Titan stuff because I want to, Titans, Dallas, a few other teams, 49ers. I just want to, we got to listen to the tiers a little bit as we look forward to the Minnesota Vikings game. Also feel good about Malik. I mean, I love having him as a backup. And let's be honest. I mean, we talk as though we know Jordan's playing. We don't know he's playing. I'm again, like I said, I'm above the 50% mark that he does play. I don't know how much higher I am than like 75% though. I'm not trying to be that dude. I just want to keep it in context. Malik might be our quarterback this week. Just throwing that out there. So I agree. I mean, I think as far as backup quarterbacks go, considering how well this has gone, how athletically gifted he is, how he seems to be able to operate very well within the system, I don't think there's a backup quarterback I'd rather have. And there's some decent ones out there. But this dude is, I mean, it's working. It's working. And I agree. I mean, again, until we get to the point where teams are willing to offer him like $20 million plus, I think the value is in keeping him. I think that you're right about that. I don't know. I maybe there's a way to contemplate that. What if we assume that this guy is just a top, I don't want to say top quarterback because that's silly, but he brings this value to our team as a backup quarterback consistently. What is that worth? There's got to be a way to look at that. I mean, I suppose you could look at it and say, his value is that of a $40 million quarterback. That might be much, but still, I mean, it's a quarterback that you win with. That's valuable, clearly. You can win super fancy like Mahomes, or you can win just because you're a winner and it's what you do like Tom Brady. Malik isn't either, but you get what I'm saying. Winning is winning, and it's important. It's what we're trying to do here. And then you could say, well, how many games do you expect to see him in? 1, 2, 3? I mean, again, it becomes hard to, even if you call it 50 million, if he's playing, even on the high end, if we said it's a third, we're kind of maxing out at 16, 17 million. And I think that's a really high price tag. And assuming we see him 3 times a year, which means Love is having some serious problems. Again, when we get to like 20 million, it's just really, I think, hard to justify. But we're not there, and we don't know what the value is. It might just be a lot of teams look at it and go, yeah, I mean, it's a thing you're doing with the Packers, but it ain't going to work here. And we just get to keep him forever, and I think that'd be great. It would kind of suck for Malik. I mean, he's playing good football, and it would be kind of cool as far as the story goes. I mean, as far as the Packers winning, yeah, just stash him on our team. You're not allowed to go anywhere. Suck it. But on a human level, it would actually be very cool if the Packers were able to allow him to develop him properly, and then send him off to make some money somewhere. Kind of Matt Flynn him a little bit. Although Matt Flynn was always a backup quarterback. It's just some teams were stupid, didn't recognize that, threw a bunch of money at him. Another team threw a bunch of money at him, and then it didn't work out. But at that point, he's already set, so good for him. It'd be cool if Malik could, just go be a quarterback and be good at it somewhere in the AFC. Maybe he could take over after Rodgers hangs it up, Rodgers wins a Super Bowl for the Jets, decides to retire, and then they get another Packers quarterback in Malik, sending us more crap, more picks. I mean, obviously the Packers are going to win the Super Bowl. I'm just saying, if something happened where for some unlikely reason we weren't able to win the Super Bowl, give it to Rodgers, let him retire, walk off into the sunset, and take Malik. I think that's the plan, boys and girls. I think that's the plan. Nico, what's your plan, dude?
This is Nico watching the Bengals Monday night game.
Sure.
And So I was kind of waiting until halftime, unless they do it now, because I think they're already done with their little halftime 3 minutes in sports. I'm really surprised that, like, nobody has really mentioned what Malik Willis has done. Yesterday, after I think in the halftime of the Niners and Rams game, it just showed a picture of the Titans and said they lose. Didn't say how or why.
Yeah.
I mean, you'd think that a backup player coming in about a month, winning 2 games in a row, and then one against his former team that said, yeah, he's a good guy, but he can't play. You think that would be major news?
Yeah.
But I mean, remember when Baker got picked up by the Rams like a week before a Monday night game, and he played pretty good?
Right.
No, it's Baker Mayfield. A lot of drama there. But I'm like, I can't believe no one's talking about it. It's kind of like a very, very big thing that this dude comes in who, you know, you could maybe say the league. I mean, let's face it, the Packers got him for a 7th-round pick. Any team could have got him for a 7th-round pick. You know, they would probably shop it. Hey, can we get a 7th? Can we get a 7th? But it's just so weird that the national media is like, mum's the word. Especially since Jordan just signed a big deal, you know, and it made a lot of NFL pundits last year kind of eat their words. And a lot of them admitted it. Hey, Jordan's pretty good. So, very surprised. I know the Packers typically nationally tend to get overlooked, and I love it. But you think this, going back to the team that drafted you, I think that would be a bigger story. But guess it's not. Anyways, go Petco. I'm going to continue watching. The dude from Washington looked better than now I can't remember his name, the guy at the Bengals drafted. Look at me. I know he's Kevin from Home Alone. That's all I remember. Anyways, go Petco.
I when you first said that there wasn't a lot of coverage, my first reaction was I think there's been kind of a lot. Like I've heard plenty about the situation, but you're right. As far as like the way that the conversation is structured, it's funny because maybe the reason I'm not upset by it is because Matt LaFleur has never gotten enough respect, and now he is. But I think maybe the problem is Matt LaFleur is getting too much of the respect. And actually, that's probably not true. He's getting the right amount of respect, but I think it maybe should be noted how good Malik looks. I'm not saying it's necessarily the right reaction, but, Malik was really liked by a lot of people. And it kind of feels like, what I've mentioned before, how like guys in the national media or whatever will kind of latch on to an idea and they're very slow to move off of it. I mean, it's Colin Cowherd, he'll swing back and forth all day long, but there are certain narratives that some people just don't want to, the Fields thing or whatever. It seemed like nobody wanted to let go of Malik, and then when they finally did, they all the way let go. And now they're having a hard time getting back into whatever. And I understand not wanting to be that guy that's just swinging back and forth, so you hang on to stuff as long as you possibly can. But point being, a lot of people thought he was going to be a really gifted quarterback. You now have him in a situation where he's on the team that's maybe the best at developing quarterbacks in the entire NFL. He's with a quarterback guru, which he's not called that. I'm going to call him that because I think he is, in Matt LaFleur. They also happen to have a very gifted quarterback coach there. Maybe the storyline here is Malik a legit NFL quarterback? If you look back over the last 2 weeks, you might call it silly. In almost every metric you can find, he's at least a top 10 quarterback. PFF, any of the stats and metrics, et cetera, maybe not quite the big time throws, but if you look at especially the percentages and all that kind of stuff, man, it is interesting. Maybe you don't want to overreact, but it's interesting that I have not necessarily seen the angle of, is Malik good? I mean, where are all the people that said he was going to be a great NFL quarterback, and it was a travesty that he fell to the 3rd round or wherever it was? I think it was 3rd. And by the way, he wouldn't be the first. I mean, what was Dak Prescott? Like, wasn't he like a 3rd or 4th quarterback? And Russell Wilson, he was like a 3rd or 4th. He was one of those guys. I don't know. I'm just saying. I'm saying I get what you're saying, I think is what's going on here, Nico. Nico, you do this so many times. Do you have me in your phone as like 1A? So I'm just always the first one that gets call. I mean, there's a lot transcribed here, so I want to listen to what happens. See if anything scandalous is going on. Where's it at? No. Oop, what are you watching? What is she watching? Let's just read it. Invasion of privacy here. Is she home? I got home. The air pressure sounds like a coffee so hard. Me? Okay. It's very watery. Rub it in forever once again. Like I did this morning, I'm very scared. I'm older, yet, unless you like it every day. So what's tomorrow? That's Google trying to transcribe what you're saying in the background. Oh, it sounds funnier when you just read it out like that. All right, we got another 29 seconds of Nico. Let's see if it's a real call. Nope.
Oh, that.
Nico's just living the dream. Let's keep going. Randy in Minnesota.
Hi, Ryan. It's Randy from Minnesota.
What's up?
Well, it's Vikings week, and already if you live in Minnesota along the border, you know what kind of dish nuggets are Viking fans, and they are piping up already. We're going, hey, this is our year. Sam Darnold's taking this is the Super Bowl. Like, let's hold back a little bit, boys. Let's just hold back. Let's play a few more games before we figure out that you're the greatest thing since sliced bread. However, what I was wondering is a couple things. First, you think there might be a possibility that they put in a package where you've got both Love and Malik Willis out in the field at the same time? Something like maybe they do with Taysom Hill in New Orleans, and what I could just foresee a lot of different options that could happen with that. Just as maybe 3 or 4 plays just to kind of throw everybody off. And also, and how gratifying is it to watch an individual basically save his career in 2 games? Obviously speaking of Malik, it was just refreshing to see him get a rebirth basically. And knowing he's going to go somewhere outside of Green Bay because we won't be able to keep him, and I'm happy for him. I'm just glad to see it happen. Anyway, that's really all I got. We got to beat the Vikings, or it's going to be unbearable over here. Anyway, go Pack, go! Bye.
Well, I mean, my answer is going to be no to the dual quarterback package. Could they do something? Probably. Will they? I really doubt it. I think Matt's got his offense. He's got his understanding of how offenses work. Obviously, he's got his own Matt LaFleur style and all that, but you're going to see traditional offenses. You're going to see 11 personnel, 12 personnel, whatever. You might see some crazy stuff, but I don't know if we go to that extent. Be kind of interesting if they did. Like you said, of course you can draw some stuff up in your head, and I'm sure somebody somewhere on that team, whether it's Matt LaFleur, the offensive coordinator, the offensive assistant, whatever, somebody's in there drawing up a play just for fun. Like, what's that? Like, well, I don't know, just messing around. Got 2 quarterbacks in there. Yeah, I'm not saying we should do it. I mean, that would be stupid, right, guys? Like, we can't actually do it. But I mean, it works on the whiteboard. I mean, look at it; it's beautiful. But I mean, we wouldn't do it though, right, guys? Would we? I'm just saying. I do feel for you though, Randy. The added tension of living in a place like Minnesota, I don't know, it's got to be rough. So, I mean, it's unbearable for us, whether we live in Wisconsin or Arizona or Mexico. But, living there and listening to the gloating, especially since you've been listening to it for so long, and I'm sure they're talking all kinds of trash, and now they're the best in the NFC North and all this stuff. So, yeah, I don't know what else to say other than I feel for you. I know that unlike me, no matter what, I'm sure the Vikings are always the biggest rival in your mind. It has to be that way when you live there. People in Detroit are like, no, you don't understand. The Lions are the worst. I grew up in Illinois. I don't know if that fully contributes to it. I'm convinced that it's not that it's, like the Fields thing and everything, but I'm sure there's something in my DNA that just remembers elementary school, you know? There's got to be something. Anyways, let's take our second break. We'll come back. We got Kyle from Madison.
Ryan, what's up? Kyle from Madison.
What's up?
So you can put me down in the baby back ribs column.
Okay.
I like pretty much all of them, but yep, gotta say, baby backs for the win. I want to give you a thought experiment. So, thankfully, we don't live in this timeline, but probably worth reflecting on how close we came, and God willing, we won't this year, but how close we came to actually living in a timeline where
I know where you're going.
Jordan Love's injury was more serious, and he was unavailable this season.
I mean, I don't know about you. I lived in that existence. I lived in that reality for a period of time. I mean, it was, I don't know if it was a full 24 hours. It felt like, you know, I don't know, 100 hours, however many several days is. I'm so stupid. I should have just said 48. No, I mean, that was, I remember saying it. I probably said it on the podcast. I think he's done for the year. I don't know. I know I said it to my family, and it was sad. It's like, dude, it's over. So yeah, I mean, even no matter what this weekend, no matter what happens, we are currently living in a timeline in which Jordan is our quarterback, Matt LaFleur is our head coach. Very good possibility we got playoffs, and who knows what happens after that. And I think keeping that in context is going to be pretty important.
And in that timeline, we would have just had the same 2 weeks transpire the exact same as they did. Malik Willis, 2-0. So
yeah, that's
here's
true.
my question for you. In the timeline where Jordan Love's out this year, how far, just based on 2 week sample size, how far do you think LaFleur and Malik Willis get this season in that time frame? Do you think playoffs or where? I'm just interested in what your thoughts are about what the ceiling would be for the Malik Willis, Matt LaFleur show. And I look forward to hearing your answer.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because, I mean, I just got done saying, like, season's over. It is fun to think about because, remember, we beat the Colts by 6, which is not necessarily a small margin. We beat the Titans 30-14, right? It was a slaughter. Offensively and defensively, very good football teams. Now, does Malik beat Minnesota? I mean, again, we might find out this week. I don't know. But the fact that I'm sitting here looking at Minnesota, which, as weird as it sounds, is maybe one of the tougher tests we're going to have this year. Again, that maybe we expose Minnesota and the 49ers go back to being dominant and this statement is stupid. I don't know. But the fact that I'm sitting here going, I don't know. I mean, you look at the Rams. I think they're very beatable. Cardinals, I don't know. Texans are not looking great. But let's just, okay, so the Rams would bring us to 3. The Jaguars would be 4. Chicago would be 5 and 6. Dolphins now, which I thought were going to be tough without Tua, is 7. What else here? I don't know that anything else is necessarily, I mean, not that those were automatic, but I mean, that gets us to 7. If we can find 2 more, 3 more for sure, we're talking playoffs. So do we beat the Minnesota Vikings once? I think it's fair to say that probably. What about the Lions once? I mean, if they get back to like peak Lion form, If they're playing like they're currently playing, where there's some severe deficiencies, like, you know, their quarterback is booty cheeks, I think there's a chance. And then you've got what? You got a chance with Cardinals, Texans. These are teams I did not say was a win. Cardinals, Texans, 49ers, Seahawks, Saints. Those aren't easy, but again, it's win one of those, right? I mean, let's just say between the Lions and the Vikings, let's say you win 1, okay? So that would bring us to 8. And then can we win one of those other games? Now, granted, that's automatically assuming we beat the Jaguars and all these other teams that are going to be down there, but I think it'd be a fight to the finish. With the potential upside of the Packers are actually just good. You know, if the defense can continue what they've been doing the last 2 weeks of allowing 10 and 14 points, And if the offense can keep I mean, remember, we basically scored 30 points 2 out of 3 weeks. And the only week we didn't is when we thought Malik maybe couldn't play. Matt LaFleur was scared to death, decided that I only want Malik to throw in absolutely critical situations, and then we're going to run the ball. And we ended up getting 16 points. And then when Matt saw how efficient Malik was, he was like, screw it, let's turn him loose. And we scored 30 on a better defense, in my opinion, Titans compared to Colts. I believe they're a better defense. I got it. In my mind, it's kind of a photo finish. It's certainly not the disaster. And that would be kind of the cool thing we'd be talking about. If Jordan was out, obviously we think it's over. At this point, the conversation would be, it's not over, boys. It's not over. And you know, you also have to look at it and say, Malik's presumably just going to get better. As much as you look at it and say he's going to regress because he's just not that good, he doesn't know the offense yet. And Matt LaFleur is going to continue to add more and more to his plate. Interesting little timeline there. So I guess that's my answer. I don't think it's impossible they get about 9-ish. And then it's kind of, you know, that photo finish of, depending on how the rest of the division shakes out, are you going to slip into the playoffs or not? I don't know. But crazy that we're in the situation of even asking it.
Oh, hey, I'm listening to the latest episode of After Dark, and you're wondering about how the Bears got to be cursed.
Yes.
And I just wanted to remind you, because you often tell us that you don't remember everything or anything, and we need to remind you.
Yes,
so
you do.
I just want to remind you, we figured this out this summer.
Oh, crap. Okay.
So the Bears are cursed because they gave one of the greatest running backs in history, Walter Payton. They snubbed him, Ditka snubbed him on the goal line.
That's right.
In favor of Refrigerator Perry in the Super Bowl.
Right.
So instead of giving your legendary
Bastard.
all forever, even Packer fans like him running back the ball, they gave it to their D lineman in some publicity stunt. And therefore they are now cursed for robbing Walter Payton of a Super Bowl touchdown. So I just thought I'd remind you because we did figure that out. And yes, they deserve the 1,000-year curse that they have received. Okay, thanks.
You're right, and I think it is a 1,000-year curse. If I have to look it up, but I was the robot. I'm going to. I know it's stupid, but I just want to see what it's going to say. I keep forgetting they've got these new models now, and I'm trying not to use them when I don't need to. And man, do they go in depth when you ask simple questions. It says you're referencing a pivotal moment in Chicago in '86, specifically the decision to utilize William Refrigerator Perry over Walter Payton. Let's see. One of the greatest running backs in NFL history, Payton was the centerpiece of the Bears offense, known for exceptional agility. What's the answer? Understanding the curse concept. The idea of a curse in sports often arises from fans' frustrations with prolonged periods, blah, blah, blah. Since the duration of a curse is metaphorical, its duration isn't fixed. All right, listen, stupid. Just answer the question. I told it, yeah, I know, stupid. It's for fun. Just answer the question. So it goes over the history of it again. Goes over the signs of the curse, endless rebuilds, injuries galore, unlucky breaks. Drawing from ancient curse lore and the cyclical nature of sports fortunes, here's a whimsical prediction. This is biblical. There is the first century, 1986 to 2086, phase of turbulence. Expect continued struggles with intermittent flashes of brilliance. The team may experience moments that hint at breaking the curse, only to be thwarted by unforeseen obstacles. Generational shifts. Multiple generations of fans will witness the curse's persistence, passing down stories of the infamous 86 decision. Then there is the millennium mark from 2086 to 2986, the transformation era. By this time, the curse may begin to wane as new legends emerge and old grievances fade into the annals of history. Technological advancements and shifts in the sports could neutralize the curse's effect. And then beyond 1,000 years, from 2986 on, the curse itself may become a mythological tale, inspiring future teams and fans to strive for greatness, blah, blah, blah. It's going to be a long time, man. There's going to be like a historical book that's going to come out. So, yeah, in our lifetime, the Bears will never be good. So thank you, Robot, for finally just playing along with my stupidity. I do appreciate the reminder, though. That's true. We did figure that out, and surprised nobody's talking about it. I'll be honest. It's a major part of sports history, in my opinion.
Hey, Brian. This is Trucker Bob.
Hey, Trucker Bob.
In about this last Sunday's game. great win. Enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun to watch. Couple comments. Number one, of course, the biggest problem we're facing right now is penalties. But the big difference this year over last year is when it's 3rd and 14 or 3rd and 18, we're still able to get first downs. For last year, we weren't. We couldn't get those long first downs that we had racked up from penalties. So
sure,
great improvement over last year, but still would like to see the penalties come down.
100%.
My second comment is I was a big promoter of the 4-man defensive line.
Yep.
I think it is the best way to run a defense. It can be far more aggressive and disruptive with the 4-man line. I think you're seeing that this year. And so I like to pat myself on the back on that one. Yeah, it was the direction we needed to go. My third comment is about the Vikings. The first question is, do you think Aaron Jones is going to be extra motivated to get his revenge against us Sunday? I think he is going to be hyped.
Yeah.
And I expect a big game out of him. I really loved Aaron Jones as a Packer, and I hope he does well as a Vikings, just not this Sunday.
I mean, just think, his home state is Texas. And that guy was one of the most magical beings on earth when we played the Dallas Cowboys, specifically in Dallas. That guy was unstoppable. He's coming home. And you think about what he's done on this field, it's going to be so weird. Like, it's weird watching Aaron Jones run in that uniform because if you just did one of those things where, you could see an outline of a figure, but you didn't know who it was. If you just showed me the running style, I'd be like, that's Aaron Jones. Like, it just is. Watching Aaron Jones on Lambeau Field turf, in a Lambeau Field audience, doing Aaron Jones things, but against our defense, the way he is able to, I've been frustrated with the defense to begin with, how they're really good at getting penetration, but then just don't get the running back down. Aaron Jones is the ultimate being in like, there's nothing there. Oh, there he goes. Oh, he's going to go down. Oh, there he goes again. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe they shut him down. I don't know. I hope so, but it's going to be really weird watching that dude wear purple, run on Lambeau Field turf, and do Aaron Jones things. I don't know. Watching him catching like screen passes and just going and just the way he it's almost like skiing, He just kind of like skis from side to side or like, I don't know, man. I don't like it. There is a whole discussion right now on social media whether he should be booed or not. I did a poll. Obviously, fortunately, I shouldn't say obviously, most people said no, but I think there's a case to be made. I don't know. We'll see. I hope they don't boo him. I like that the Packers are not considered a classless fan base, and I don't think that would sit very well with Aaron Jones, with Packer fans, with everybody else looking at the Packers saying, what a trash organization. I still remember, and the Bears did this a lot. Every time they get rid of a player, like he's washed, he's tried. The way that they treated Brian Urlacher when he left, I'll never forget that. One of the greatest players ever, and he leaves, and it's like, oh, he's washed anyways. Like, you bunch of ungrateful jagoffs, I swear. Anyway, sorry.
And then my fourth question is more of a personal one. If my wife and I come to Wisconsin in October or November, we'd like to take you and your wife out to dinner to a nice Wisconsin restaurant. The only one I know of is the Fox and Hound. I've been out of Wisconsin so long, I don't know.
And I know of Fox and Hounds. I know where it is. I've never been there. We'll have to talk, Trucker Bob.
Anything that's good now. But we'd like to come up to Wisconsin and park our truck and take you and your wife out to dinner one night. So if there's any way that's possible, let me know how I can contact you, and we will try to set something up. I have to get the right routes to get there. I don't know what they are yet, but I'd like to take a swing through Wisconsin this fall. Anyway, this is Trucker Bob out, and we hope you have a great day, and go Pack Go.
Well, I really do appreciate that, Trucker Bob. It means a lot. It's always kind of I feel like there's a right way to handle this, and I don't know what it is, but we'll talk about it. And I know you've got your certain routes, and we've got kids and everything else. But I tell you what, the number that you call, you can text it. So if you want to just, a lot of people text me on there, provide content and everything else. So yeah, you can just message me on there. Let me know what your schedule is looking like, and I'll look at ours, which is, obviously nonstop, 24/7. My wife does most of the work, but still, it's very busy. And figure it out, man. We'll figure it out. So, Steve in Alaska. You want to buy me a plane ticket, hang out, get some dinner in Alaska? We could do that.
Hey, Ryan, Steve.
Just kidding.
I'm hopefully the wind ain't blowing on.
I'd go.
Blowing hard here. But out collecting firewood because you were just saying that you watched the game and went outside and it was fall. Well, our colors are all done. The leaves are mostly falling off. There's snow on top of the mountains, so winters are coming. So I got my firewood pile building up. But I was calling because you were talking about ribs and whatnot.
Yeah.
And you're an individual's preference. Ooh, blueberries. But I prefer the St. Louis style.
Yeah.
I like them more than I like the baby backs because I like a fattier rib.
Yeah. And that's what I noticed about it. Like, I said this before, when you slap a ton of barbecue sauce, which I do, on your ribs, it's not as noticeable. And baby backs are super meaty. So if they're kind of the same, but one is just this fatty, not fatty, but I mean like thick, meaty hunk. And the St. Louis is this tiny, skinny little thing. But like if you just ate an unsauced rib and you ate a baby back and a St. Louis, I have to assume it's overwhelmingly St. Louis would be the more popular. That's just my assumption. But again, if you grew up with baby back and it's hard to notice because it's barbecue sauce anyways, yeah, it's hard to pass up on these just giant hunks of fat meat.
Something that you can try because it's what I do with my business because I have to cook so many of them up and then I have to hold them.
Yeah.
Is I'll cook a rack off and then I split it in half and I put it. They got quart size vacuum seal bags.
Okay.
And a half rack of St. Louis style fits right into those. And then you're basically going to sous vide them after that. So
yeah.
you cook them. I cook mine 4 to 5 hours. Draw on the bone. About 260, 265, but I'm in a rotisserie, so they don't stay consistently in that upper heat. They drift down into the bottom, which is a little cooler, and then they drift up into it. So there's a little lower heat. So it's probably more about like 250. And do them until you get your draw on your bones. You get your half inch or so draw on the bone, quarter inch, half inch draw on the bone, and then like I said, put them in the vacuum seal bag, and then basically just hold them in hot water.
Hold them in the sous vide, yeah.
For, another couple hours.
Yep.
And yeah, dude, they just fall apart. The longer you leave them in the water, the more crumbly they get. I get some in there that are sitting in those bags for, 7, 8 hours, 9 hours, and they're hard to hold on to because they're just wanting to fall apart so bad. But I like the fattier rib, so I'm preferable to the St. Louis style.
It's interesting you mentioned that. That was like a philosophy I had a long time ago. I haven't actually done it because I've just been using my oven, which works really well. When I just kind of discovered, the holding, and first of all, how important it is. And then just, how much of the cook it is. I used to think of it as, like for a pork butt, you cook it up to 205. That's the cook. And then it's, if you can hold it for a little bit, that's great. And now it's kind of, the cook is more the beginning part. That's getting the smoke on it. It's getting it up to 165, whatever the case may be. And then at that point, I'm kind of in a holding phase, even though it's not at the right temp to start breaking down all that stuff. You got to get to like 190 or something. But still, I'll put it in the oven and start the holding process. It'll slowly come up to 200 because that's what I have the oven at. And then it'll start that process. It would be the same thing essentially for sous vide. The sous vide, I think, would just be probably a better method. It's great for, holding in all the juices and all the smoke flavor and everything else. I'm guessing they're extremely flavorful. And I'd seen people experiment. Should you sous vide and then smoke, or then smoke and then sous vide? And it seems like you should smoke second, but it seems like the consensus is, you get the flavor on early and then you contain them in that. They're a lot more flavorful. So yeah, I've thought about that. I've seen people do it. I think I did it maybe once with something. I don't remember what it was, but yeah, I should try that again. I haven't done much with sous vide lately. And I don't know if I've ever done what you're recommending necessarily, especially with the knowledge that I have now of like how long you want to hold it, as opposed to put it in the sous vide till it's done cooking and pull it, which is not the right way to do it. But no, it's a good idea, and I should try that for sure. Well, I'll let you continue. I don't know where we're going, but I'm also curious about, I don't know, like, you do any unsauced or like light sauce or heavy sauce or certain kind of sauce? I don't know. Just curious.
Going on the football.
Oh yeah, sure. That's fine.
By the way, I use brown sugar, salt, pepper.
There we go.
What is it? Dried onion, got a little sage in it, cumin, chili powder. That's the rub I put on. But going back to the football stuff, looking forward to this upcoming game. I think it's going to be a real tough one. I'm glad it's at home, but then again, there's a part of me that just was like, I wish this one was the road one where we played in their house, because then if things go bad, if Malik doesn't play and it doesn't go so well, I can at least say that later on in the season that we get a home game against them. We don't have to worry about going to their house.
Yep.
So, but yeah, they are looking kind of scary. I don't think any of us expected that. But I'm going to go back to unloading this wood. I'm going to have me some wild blueberries that are sitting right here, and we'll talk to y'all later. Bye.
Yeah, I agree. I partially agree. I partially agree for the reasons that you said. You know, if things don't go south, or if it's Malik or whatever the case may be, then maybe that's the one, you know, you end up folding on, and then the next time around we're ready. We got Jordan, we're practiced, all that, then it's at home. But the other part of me is like, you know, the Packers with Jordan, you know, in like early fall weather, like I can't imagine we lose. It just, I don't know. Yeah, I'm just too arrogant, but whenever we're at home, I should look into the recent home field advantage stuff. Do we lose at home? I don't feel like it was the last time we lost at home, man. It was a stupid Buccaneers, December 17th, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, 34-20. And that was in that crap period, you know. When was the last time before that? It was Minnesota, October 29th. That was week 8. That was kind of before. So, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm making excuses, but I just feel like when the Packers are not like in garbage mode, which maybe they will be, you never know. But, you know, there are those times when the Packers are kind of on it. And then there are times when the Packers just are like garbage. And I just feel like if the Packers and Jordan or whoever are just playing good football, I think they're going to win. It's just Lambeau Field, the environment. I don't know. It just makes me feel better about this week. I think is maybe what I'm, if I'm being honest, is the thing. If it was in Minnesota, I'd be like, I think we're going to freaking lose this game. I'm not going to tell the people on my podcast that, but I think we're going to lose it. But it's at home, so I feel good about it. You know what I mean? All right, folks. Had a good time here. We got 7 more calls, so we're set up. We're pretty good here. AA, Ron, Brooke, Uncle Rico, Daniel, Garrett, Steve, Trucker Bob. But I appreciate all the calls. Keep them coming, and I will talk to you tomorrow. Be sure to check out. We got a little bit of news and notesy stuff tomorrow to talk about, but Laughing at the Enemy, it's a good one. A lot of good clips about the Chicago Bears. And then we'll start talking Vikings. So have a good day. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.